Hello, this is the first of a new thing I'm doing on YouTube called Video Games and Narrative, where I look at the different ways that different video games have approached the idea of a narrative in a game. And by narrative I don't purely mean the story that you're told like in a book or a film. Games to me are an active experience, not something that you just watch. So when I talk about the narrative, I'm talking about the experience that the player has through the gameplay, the narrative being the story that they have, that they experience through playing the game, not just through watching lines of text or cutscenes. I'm looking at Mega Man 2 today. It's obviously as classic an example as you can get of a video game. I'm going to be doing it on the Wii, on the Virtual Console, as I don't actually have a NES, so just so you know, that's out there in advance. So I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you like the idea, the angle that I'm taking with this. So let's start it now.
The classic Mega Man series is as good an example as any which displays the traditional relationship a video game has with the player. That is the task of overcoming an increasingly difficult set of challenges, giving the player a sense of achievement, thereby creating a narrative that is experienced by the player and not just observed, as would be the case in, for instance, a film. That is the central focus of what I am discussing in these videos. How a game actively engages the player and how the game experience is more important than a traditional plot in video games. Mega Man's specific point of interest is in the way it allows the player to choose the stages in whichever order they wish, but I'll get to that later. Firstly, I'd like to discuss the game's control and level design in relation to its difficulty. I've chosen Mega Man 2 specifically for this analysis, as it is widely considered the best of the 8-bit Mega Mans, which set the standard for the series in terms of design and control. What is commonly accepted about Mega Man 2 is that its controls are tight and responsive, so the player always feels in control of their actions. The level design is also considered to be strong. As challenging as the game is, it does an excellent job of teaching you its core mechanics and how the obstacles and enemies will impede your progress. This means that the game never feels unfair, and failure in the game feels like the player's failure and not because the game is poorly designed. The reason all of this is important to narrative is because of immersion. If a player is constantly failing thanks to poor design and control, they will likely become frustrated, removing them more and more from the gaming experience. Also, the more that instances of bad design and control occur, the more the player is reminded they are playing a game. With each frustration, they are removed from immersion and become less involved in the experience. Hence, any experience of narrative between game and gamer becomes weaker. The player is less likely to get involved in their achievement. A well-designed classic-style game like Mega Man 2 creates a story for the gamer that is their own story. The story of how they overcome increasingly difficult situations with their own determination and skill, driven forward by their desire to best the virtual world. All made possible because of well-thought-out level design and a character that controls well within it, allowing the player to immerse themselves in a pixelated reality. Now, all of this is true in any well-designed traditional game. What makes the Mega Man series particularly interesting for the narrative theory I'm discussing is its relative non-linearity. The Mega Man games allow you to tackle the stages in any order you desire, and beating each stage's boss grants you a new power, allowing you to tackle further stages in different ways. This is most commonly praised because it adds a level of replayability, as each potential playthrough could be different from the last. What I like about it from a narrative point of view is that it gives the player a choice and allows for experimentation and discovery. What I mean by this is that the player is likely to fail at beating the game on their first attempts. However, through each attempt, the player learns something about the game. They can learn which boss grants them which power, and then apply that knowledge to what they know about the levels in other bosses. The player then naturally formulates a plan based on what they know. I should do this level first in order to get this power. That will help me overcome this level or boss, which in turn helps me overcome this challenge. It engages the player in a wonderfully active way, not only teaching them the skills in order to beat the game, but allowing them to think for themselves about the order they tackle the game. All of this in preparation for a final set of levels that test everything you learnt from the game, as all good games do. It makes the experience that much more personal, more engaging, and of course, more immersive. That is what I mean about a narrative between the game and the player. Countless gamers have come away from Mega Man 2 having enjoyed a thrilling and challenging experience that stays with them for the rest of their days. And personally, I think even if you strip away what little story there is, the game would still be just as memorable. Mega Man 2 is one of those all-time classics that will be revisited time and time again. Its setup has been discussed to death, and there have been so many different Mega Man games that it's easy to forget just how original and important the series once was. I still believe that this is a game worth discussing, however, and its great control, creative level design, and non-linear approach to the order you play those levels means that it will remain a great game for generations to come. Many more will experience their own version of the events of Mega Man 2.
Okay, so that was Mega Man 2 on the NES, or the Virtual Console. So hopefully I'll be doing many more of these. They're not all going to be really retro games, although the first few are. So if you do start watching them, I will also do some modern games as well when I get round to it. But I feel like all games of all generations, just as important to look at and to analyse and to see what they offer, especially in terms of this idea of narrative. So cheers for sticking around. I hope you watch some more. Leave a comment or whatever if you enjoyed the video and let me know your thoughts. Cheers.